Have you ever had fear just strike you to your core, where you can feel it in the veins of your body? And I'm not talking about the fear of going through puberty and your voice cracking at the bus stop, or asking out the first girl you had a crush on, or your first cavity. No, I'm talking about a real visual fear that stays with you, that lives within you, that haunts your very dreams. That's what we're talking about today, and we're talking about none other than the game playing behind me, the original Silent Hill, and how I overcome my childhood fears, finally, in 2025. Let's talk about it. I was a young lad growing up in Maryland around, I don't know why I tried to go in with an Irish accent or something weird right there. Please forgive me, it's been a long day. Growing up in Maryland, that's when I kind of got my introduction. Horror as a genre, as something I'm interested in. And movies, games, I've talked about it before, my past with Resident Evil. But today we're talking about Silent Hill, the original game that honestly, as a kid, scared the shit out of me. And even as an adult, it was a series that I always kind of kept at a distance, but always in the back of my mind. I think I still had some of those fears from my childhood. So let's go back to the beginning before we get in any further into our little story time today. So I remember going over to, I believe it was my friend Matt Green's house in probably like 6th grade, honestly. And Matt had a PlayStation 1. And I remember he had Resident Evil 1, he had Silent Hill 1, and he had Resident Evil 2. And those were my introduction into survival horror, just as a whole. And my glasses are fogging up already. Fantastic. We might have to open up the window, so give me 1 second. Never mind, there's too much noise pollution out there, so we're just gonna have to suck it up, Buttercup. Anyways, back to Matt's house. I remember going over there and just having legendary sessions on the PlayStation 1, introductions into horror games, playing Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, and one day, one cold winter night in Crofton, Maryland, we decided to put on Silent Hill. Put in the PlayStation Silent Hill and play it for the first time. And Matt obviously had played the game before. I had not. So I started it up. Introduction, very strange, but nothing too crazy so far. And then we get to the dream sequence where Harry Mason, begins going down kind of like a alleyway at first, proceeds to go further into this alleyway, and it just turns into a hellscape. And still to this day, it is one of the greatest introductions to a game, to a horror game ever, in my opinion. It's in the top 5, in my opinion. It's up there with Dead Space. It's up there with The Last of Us, if you want to consider that a horror game. I could go on, but you know, just to put it up there with a few names, it's there. And it's really good. And it's just so creepy with the wheelchair and the music and the graphic things you're seeing. And it just messed me up as a kid. And I remember playing the sequence and being so scared and running around, freaking out. The little kids are chasing you with the knife. I had no idea what to do. I couldn't get away. My friends are laughing at me, and all of a sudden I just die, and I just throw the controller, and I'm just like, what? And I was almost mad at them, because obviously they had played it before. They knew you couldn't beat that section of the game, and it just kind of scarred me as a kid, and I was terrified of this game, and I didn't want to touch it after that. I was scared of even the name Silent Hill. The years just went on, and I never got around to playing it again. But it's always been one of those games that I've had interest in. And as the years have gone on, obviously, I'm not a little kid anymore. I've watched a lot of movies now, horror movies, and played a lot of horror games, and built up quite a tolerance for it now, and kind of desensitized to it now, to an extent. And I've beaten a few of the Silent Hill games now. Silent Hill 2 is probably my favorite. Now we've beaten Silent Hill 1, next we're going to beat Silent Hill 3. All that being said, let's get into my experience and how this all played out beating Silent Hill. as an adult, and still did it hold up, and were those fears valid from my childhood, or was it just an overreaction and it's really not that scary? So with all that being said, let's talk about it. It is so refreshing to me to go back and play these older horror games because they're so simple and just to the point. And they're strange, they're macabre, they're eerie, they're creepy, puzzles, they have backtracking, fixed camera angles. I mean, these are things I grew up on. I'm nostalgic for them. And I love the simplicity of Silent Hill 1. Now, I'm not going to sit here and just narrate the entire story because that's not the point of this video. My point being is it's straightforward. You're stranded in this town, can't find your daughter, and you got to find your daughter. So you set out into the fog, and this game still holds up. I love the aesthetic of it, the eeriness and the creepiness of Silent Hill in this original game. And obviously the fog and all that stuff I know was created because of limitations with the map, and only certain sections of the map actually load in. But in terms of exploring an open environment in a horror game and not having these huge lapses when you're entering buildings and stuff like that, it's pretty impressive for the time. And quite a feat, I believe, using Softimage and some other softwares that were kind of very new and prehistoric by nowadays. But you know, I'm familiar with some of these particular softwares because I went to school for 3D imaging, animation. I've used 3ds Max and Maya and ZBrush and all these 3D tools, Softimage, Softimage, whatever you want to call it. But I love how just straightforward it is. You got to read the notes. You got to pay attention to your surroundings. You have to explore. Sometimes you have to try some weird things. I mean, that's what Silent Hill is all about. You're going to get some strange items you have no idea what the hell to do with. And you got to start trying things. Combine things, try multiple things on one object. That's one of my favorite things about the Silent Hill series is the puzzles. The puzzles in this first game I think are pretty solid. Towards the end of the game, there's some pretty vague, weird stuff. A little ridiculous trying to figure out how to do, but outside of that, I thought the puzzles were really good. And in terms of the horror, the environment, like I said, the macabre, just atmosphere, it's spectacular. I love the music. I love the enemies. The environments are incredible. I mean, the school has to be one of the creepiest environments I've ever been in a horror game. And it's probably the highlight of this game, in my opinion. It strikes me a lot as like the apartment, or you could even say like the hospital. No, I'd say more like the apartment, just because when you enter the apartment in Silent Hill 2, it's a great introduction to what's to come. Because the school in Silent Hill 1 is the same thing. Like, you've kind of ran around the town a little bit at this point. You've seen some weird stuff, but nothing has really, shit hasn't really hit the fan yet. And once you get to the school, then the horror ramps up, but it's still mild compared to what it will become. And I just love that about it. It's subtle, but it makes its point, and it really gives you, like I said, a great example of what's to come, which is pure nightmare fuel as you go deeper and deeper into the nightmare. And like I said, I know this game freaked me out as a kid, but it's still pretty scary to today's standards, and going back and playing it is eerie. I thought the underworld was done really well and confusing, especially in the later half of the game. There's definitely a bunch of running around, backtracking, looking for items, that classic survival horror vibe. I loved the story. I loved the characters, the branching paths, and the narratives. I ended up getting the bad ending, which there's not really a good ending to this game, or any Silent Hill game for the most part, but I got a terrible ending. It is what it is. There's like stuff I skipped too somehow, and I never found the rifle, which was frustrating. I missed the shotgun at first and had to go find it and replay the boss with the big lizard thing around the fire at the beginning. Thought the boss fights were pretty creative, especially like the first one, because I unloaded like rounds of ammo on this guy and then realized like, oh, you just get the shotgun and wait until he opens his mouth and blast him with his mouth open like 3 times and he's dead. That was interesting. But overall, I think Team Silent, what they created, was simply a masterpiece, and it's a game that has held me captive for a long time just in my head, and I'm so glad I finally got to beat it now. I want to go back and try to get like different endings some point. I'm so excited about the remake, which is another reason why I wanted to knock it out. It is really cool owning the original trilogy, so I'm pretty stoked on that. And I have the 4th game on my modded Xbox. But, you know, in terms of overcoming the fears, I feel like I have with Silent Hill, and now it's like one of my favorite franchises. And honestly, the more I dive into it, I might be a bigger Silent Hill fan than Resident Evil. Even though I love Resident Evil, I consider it my favorite franchise, and I've beaten almost every game. So I have a lot of work to do on the Silent Hill side. But overall, I've been enjoying my time with it. So glad I've beaten the first 2 games now. Excited to jump into the 3rd game, which I know is a lot of people's favorite. But in my opinion, these first 2 games will probably always be my favorite, because they have that classic Silent Hill vibe, that psychological atmosphere. I mean, that psychological just mindfuck, basically, which is what these first 2 games were. And they really played into, you know, like Blue Velvet and what is it, Jacob's Ladder and films of this nature. They really leaned in to that genre of horror, and I love it. I mean, it's right up my alley. I'm not a big gore person, so it's like I like the more psychological side of things. I think Silent Hill, in terms of that type of gameplay and story, is top of the list for me. I love the experience. Happy that I conquered this fear finally. And I just kind of wanted to make a video about it. It's one of those titles that I've wanted to beat for so long, and it feels good to have it finally under my belt. Yeah, it really did kind of mess me up as a kid. So it was something, even as an adult, I was like still a little bit nervous about going into. In the past, not so much now, you know, I've played too much stuff now, but still there was that little thing in the back of my head. But it's gone now, and we conquered that fear, and I wanted to tell you guys about it. Share some of your Silent Hill stories below. I would love to hear about the first Silent Hill game you played, your experience with it. Did it affect you the same way it affected me? I don't know. But I'm going to leave it there. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Stay blessed, my friends.